close as you can. This is our camera.
No, not that community.
Burlington, Vermont.
Canada?
You've done your research.
It's from Burlington, Vermont.
Where are you from?
Really?
Outside of Boston.
You could
Can't
tell
you
he's,
tell?
You could tell he's
Come
a New
on.
Englander. Look
He's
at that
from the
rugged
valley.
look. Rugged look.
Oh yeah, we love Phil. Okay, now this
You've done
is
this before, right?
I haven't done this.
not
no.
here. Oh, you haven't done a Google Hangout
But
at all.
my boss,
But you know what
our
it is.
deputy foreign minister was here.
Well, Danny Ayalon
Danny
was here.
Ayalon,
Yes, he was here. Phil, why don't you come closer, please? This
And am I
maybe
looking at
back up
you,
just
you,
a
you?
hair. Back up just a hair. There you go. Phil,
Probably them.
I want you to get in camera, Phil.
Oh, sorry. I'm
Okay.
leaning.
Good.
Okay, so basically this is a very casual, informal conversation.
Okay.
Everyone is in the Hangout already. Let me quickly introduce you guys, and then we'll probably take some questions from people from all over, kind of like what we did with Danny.
Okay.
And then I'll wrap it up. I think we have about 10 minutes with you, and then they're going to want to talk to you on the set. Is that
Okay, that's
is
great.
that cool?
Perfect. Anything you guys want to do.
Okay, excellent. And Phil's been covering this story, so he is definitely a
So
lot
he
more.
knows his stuff.
Well, a lot more than me, that's for sure.
I'm gonna
So
test your
Phil,
math
thank you.
on the rocket counts.
And they have some questions as well. So we'll do a little round robin. Okay, here we go. Good morning. Hi, it's Maria from the Fox 11 newsroom here in Los Angeles. And joining us today, we're very excited to be talking with the Israeli Consul General, David Siegel. And also joining us is Phil Schuman, one of our anchor reporters here, has been covering the story and what's been going on. We had some protesters actually yesterday at the offices, your offices, and from what we hear, they were peaceful. There were about 100 people there, and that was in reaction to what has happened to Ahmad Jabari. Is that him? Jabri. Anyway, let me quickly introduce you to everybody here. This is Anthony joining us from Sacramento. Ayub is in Leicester. He's in England.
Hi.
Diano is in Reno.
Oh.
We have Gracie, our resident teen and high schooler here in the Yucca Valley in California. Justin is in England, Brighton, and Kempton is in Canada.
Hi, David.
Monica is in Boulder.
Hello.
And then us. So we may see a couple other faces pop up here, but let's start with Phil.
Well, what's the latest from what you're hearing directly from Israel?
Well, unfortunately, further escalation, because today we've had rocket firing at Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. The rocket fell in the Jerusalem area in the last 2 hours. It's the first time in half a century this kind of thing has happened. So we're seeing a very clear escalation of rocket fire into Israeli civilian communities. We want to stop this whole situation, but it's very difficult to stop it when you have these kind of armaments being used systematically against your civilian population in your major cities. So it's a very, very serious problem, and it's a serious escalation, and we're trying to do everything we can to protect our population. We have 5 million people right now in the line of fire that need to be close to secure rooms or bomb shelters, and it's just no way to live. I mean, the rate of rockets entering Israel over the last 3 days is roughly at 200 a day, which is more or less 20 an hour. And a civilian population can simply not live under these kind of conditions, and we can't allow.
So where are they?
Continue.
We've only heard of 3 casualties in Israel, though. If they're landing 20 rockets an hour, what's happening to them?
Well, we actually have over 100 casualties, but we have 3
Yeah, it's been
dead.
100?
We have 3 dead, which is a huge tragedy because an apartment building was hit yesterday or 2 nights ago, LA time, but yesterday Israel time. It was a direct hit on an apartment building, and it looks like an earthquake. Basically.
I saw that on the news.
So we had 3 families that were destroyed in that building. There were 9 civilians wounded, including kids. This is what happens when you fire rockets at residential buildings. So it's very serious.
Ayub, I'm going to go to you. You have a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's partly a question that Ifat, who was here earlier but couldn't stay for the hangout, wanted to ask, and a little bit of my own twist to it. Ifat's question was, what is the end game with this? What does Israel want to achieve? And my twist on it is, what would it take for peace in the region?
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that question. What we want to achieve here is quiet. Israel left the Gaza Strip in 2005. That was 7 years ago. And in all these years, when Hamas took over Gaza, and by the way, they took over Gaza very violently. I mean, they threw out the Palestinian Authority. And if you remember, they threw people from buildings, from rooftops. It was very significant.
I remember it well.
They took over the Gaza Strip, which, there's nothing we could do about. It's a Palestinian issue now. We have left the Gaza Strip. and they began, or continued rather, to fire rockets into Israel from 2005 to 2012. Our goal is to stop the fire, and our goal is to allow certainly the West Bank, but also the Gaza Strip, to become free, to prosper, to let people live their lives. It's difficult to do that when they are controlled by a terror organization that is investing all of these resources in these armaments that they're now using against our civilian population. Our goal is to stop that fire and to go back to the business of living our lives and enabling them to live their lives. And in terms of the broader question of peace in the Middle East, we'd like to see it. We hope it will happen. The administration now has a second term in Washington. The Obama administration has 4 years. We know their position on the peace process. We're about to go to elections. We'll have a new government. Hopefully the Palestinians will be stable enough, certainly on the Palestinian Authority side, to sit down and negotiate with Israel, because we all know what the end game needs to be, and we all know that we can get there. It's a matter of politics and getting it done. So thank you for your question.
If I can just ask one follow-on before Monica. Regarding the press coverage, we've heard a lot over here in England, and I'm sure in the US, going back years and things like that, especially with aid shipments coming into the West Bank being blocked by Israeli military and things like that. And now I've been hearing a lot from Israel, saying that Israel has been painted as the bad guy in this conflict. So just to offer you a little bit of time to speak on that, as to what you think the media coverage should be saying.
Absolutely. Well, the media coverage usually goes to the crisis and to the headlines, but behind the headlines there's also reality and human beings and the way they live their lives. I think the good news is on the West Bank in recent years there hasn't been blocking of shipments. We've taken down a lot of our security controls because the Palestinian Authority is now responsible for its own policing in its own communities. The Israelis don't need to be there anymore. I myself personally live by the Green Line inside Israel, so I'm very close to Palestinian villages around us. The borders are open. People come and go. We're building together. We're creating together. People go to hospitals in Israel. People work in Israel and go back and forth. So life continues. What is missing is that diplomatic process, that political process, to enable the two states to be established, or the Palestinian state to be established side by side with Israel. The Gaza Strip has been more difficult because the Hamas takeover and the violence and the terrorism that we see from there made us place restrictions on Gaza, but in recent years those restrictions have been lifted as well. And they also have an open border with Egypt now, so that Gaza's been prospering. So there's no reason for this, really, for this kind of rocket fire. And hopefully, this will be seen historically as an aberration, and the two peoples can come together in the future.
Hey, Matt, are they asking for David or for David? David's going to. Do we have time for one more question or no? No, we don't.
We're on break. So we'll be back.
All right. I'm going to have to let him go. I'm sorry, you guys. They're going to want to talk to you on the set too. Okay. But we appreciate you stopping by.
Well, anytime you need us, we'll come back.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry about that, Monica. I thought there would be time for another question.